All right, welcome everyone. As usual, if you'll give me a couple of minutes to get um, Reddit posts and stuff sent out to let people know that the stream is happening, then we will carry on. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that we've sort of been talking about this whole time, but we're going to talk about it in more explicit terms because I finally feel like I've nailed down how I feel about the topic and what I think about the topic. Also, if at any point you find this stream useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps grow the channel. Um, and also, feel free to stop by the Forever Adventures Library Discord, which is where we are writing a series of never-ending choose-your-own-adventure books, sort of one page at a time in a cooperative fashion. It's really interesting. We're hosting that all on Discord, and so if you want to read or help add to the stories, stop by. It's a lot of fun. Oops. Sometimes I have a hard time using my computer. Spent my entire life using computers and working on computers and just a huge computer nerd. Sometimes my brain stops working. I forget how to do it. Huh, that's weird. Apparently our stream has started restricting who can post there. How strange. Okay, well that got sent out. So let's start talking a little bit about what I'm calling the death of static storytelling. And we touched on this last time, which this stream was originally going to be a lot different than it is, and it's changed over the last couple of days when I haven't been streaming as I've thought more and more about the topic, and how storytelling is going to be changing in the future because of artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, and like artificial intelligence that will be coming out in the future, right? ChatGPT is a very, very basic version of how AI is going to change storytelling from now on. Originally, and for almost all of human history, storytelling has been very static, right? We write a story and then we tell that story to a bunch of people. Either they read it or it's handed down verbally, or we turn it into a play, or nowadays a movie, or whatever it is. That story is very static, and it is given to an audience in pretty much the same way every single time. This has done really well in the past because there's a finite amount of stories a person can consume in their lifetime, and there's a finite number of stories that a person can create in their lifetime. And creating a story used to take an extremely long time, months, maybe years, to write a single novel. And so the payoff for that writing was that it potentially was going to reach millions and millions of people. Today with ChatGPT, literally overnight, that has changed. The amount of time it takes to write a story is now minutes. Even a novel-length story could take a week or two. Now, ChatGPT doesn't quite have the capability to, say, put out the Iliad, right? That's too long, and the memory capabilities of ChatGPT aren't there yet. But future iterations of the AI are absolutely going to be putting out 1,000-page epics for us to consume. And so writing static stories is losing a lot of its value because it's no longer time consuming to make those things happen. What is time consuming now is the development of intriguing characters, of intriguing situations, of intriguing places. These things that, the AI is trained on what already exists. And so its scope of ability is fairly limited to those things that have been created by humanity up to this point. Its ability to think outside of that box is fairly limited, without prompting, anyway. And so now what we're looking at is an ability to have this extremely dynamic form of storytelling where we create characters, where we create places, where we create events, and then as a reader, you select who is going to be in the story. You select what event that person is going to be acting with. You select where that event is taking place. You select all of these different things about the story that are interesting to you, and then you watch those things play out in your own private, dynamic story. And then you move on. And maybe nobody else ever reads that same story again. But it was something that was created from the creativity of the people who created those characters, from the people who created those places, but also from the creativity of your own mind to shape the story you were looking for. And so we have this huge opportunity to recycle and reuse some of our creative thoughts. We have the ability to manipulate those creations to fit any story that we could imagine. And we have the ability to combine them in combinations that would never have been seen before. For example, we have, and this is something that's done in fan fiction a lot, right? You have fan fiction where maybe we do crosses of different stories, like Legolas in the Harry Potter universe. And somebody who really likes those two things writes some fan fiction about them. But again, these are extremely time consuming because the person who is writing that crossover has to put a lot of work into getting the minutia right. And that's not going to be the case anymore because of ChatGPT. If I wanted to write Legolas and Harry Potter, I could absolutely do it right now. Please tell me a story about the character Legolas from, what's it called? From the Lord of the Rings, if he was a character in Harry Potter getting sorted in his first year. I love the sorting hat, if you haven't noticed. I think it's super fun. So now we're just going to get it to tell me a story. And this is great for established universe stuff, right? There's no outside input required to get the AI to do something like this in an already established universe. However, we also have the opportunity to create entirely new universes and do this same sort of dynamic storytelling with them. So, once upon a time, in the magical world of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, there was a young wizard named Legolas. He was a brave and determined young man hailing from the land of Middle-earth, where he had fought against the forces of Sauron and helped defeat the Dark Lord in the War of the Ring. As Legolas arrived at Hogwarts for his first year, he felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He had heard so much about the famous school and was eager to learn all about magic it had to offer. All about the magic it had to offer. The day of the sorting ceremony arrived, and Legolas found himself standing before the Hogwarts sorting hat. The hat, a magical artifact with the ability to determine a student's true nature and place them in one of the 4 houses at Hogwarts, took one look at Legolas and immediately proclaimed Ravenclaw. Legolas was overjoyed to be sorted into Ravenclaw, the house known for its wit, wisdom, and love of learning. He made many friends among his fellow Ravenclaws, who admired his bravery and determination. He also quickly adapted to the new magical environment of Hogwarts, excelling in his classes and proving himself a quick learner. Wow, I really can't read today. However, Legolas soon discovered that the wizarding world was not as safe as it seemed. Dark forces were at work, and he soon found himself facing new dangers and challenges. But Legolas never lost his bravery or determination, and he fought against the forces of darkness with all his might. In the end, Legolas graduated from Hogwarts with honors and went on to become one of the greatest wizards of his time. He remained a proud Ravenclaw, always valuing wisdom and knowledge above all else, and continued to fight against the forces of darkness whenever they threatened the wizarding world. And so Legolas' story at Hogwarts came to an end, but his legend lived on, inspiring generations of young witches and wizards to be brave, determined, and wise. So, like I said, extremely easy inside of established universes to mash things together and have yourself a dynamic story. But as we look into the future of artificial intelligence in storytelling, we are looking into a future where the AI is going to have drastically more quote-unquote memory. Right, the ability to learn on data sets dynamically as they're being developed. So you're going to be able to create characters with the AI and then train the AI on that data so that that character becomes sort of this innate part of the training data. So that just like Legolas and the Harry Potter universe, these things exist as knowledge that the AI has and can draw from. And so we're going to start having more and more dynamic stories coming about from characters and places and scenarios that are created by each of us individually. And that's something that I want to start leaning into really hard now, because those AI advancements are coming, and they're coming very, very rapidly. So something that I've touched on before and something that I'm really going to start leaning into is what I call the World Nexus. It's going to be a Discord server where we are going to self-publish to the Discord server on an amateur level, right? I'm not trying to, and we're not trying to make money off of this endeavor. But basically, we're going to set up a bunch of different levels at which world building occurs, right? Personal level, family level, organizational level, kingdom level, and world level world building. And then you're going to create at those levels, and then you'll write it out. I'll probably create a YouTube video on how to navigate the World Nexus and how to add to the World Nexus. But you'll create a character, for example, in its own Discord server. And that character will, maybe you generate a picture for it, whether it's AI generated or generated because you drew it yourself. And then you're going to talk about who that character is, their personality, if you want to give them a fantasy race or a sci-fi race, or it doesn't really matter. But you'll build this character out, and then you'll take the Discord server where this character resides and you'll link it inside the World Nexus server so that people can go and visit and learn about your character, and then use the information you've created about that character to create a summary using the AI about who that character is, potentially even who that character is in a different universe. For example, maybe you create an elven character in a medieval universe, like one of the D&D settings, but this person decides that they want to take that character into a sci-fi setting. And so you could easily have the AI create a summary as if that character had always existed in this other universe. For example, create a summary of the character Legolas from the Lord of the Rings as if he was a character from Star Trek The Next Generation. Why do you hate me so? Okay, let's try this dance again. Remember, always copy when you're having to um, refresh the page. Always copy what you were typing, or you're gonna have to come up with it again. So create a summary of the character Legolas from The Lord of the Rings as if he was a character from the Star Trek from I said Star Trek, The Next Generation. I'm sure I figured it out. Legolas Greenleaf, a member of the Woodland Realm, was a highly skilled archer and warrior, known for his exceptional speed and agility. He joined the Fellowship of the Ring on their quest to destroy the One Ring and was a trusted ally of Gandalf and Aragorn. Legolas was characterized by his calm and collected demeanor, as well as his unwavering loyalty to his friends and his mission. Despite his stoic nature, Legolas had a deep love for nature and a fierce protectiveness of the natural world. With his sharp instincts and his ability to communicate with animals, Legolas proved to be a valuable member of the Fellowship, always on the lookout for danger and able to anticipate the movements of their enemies. He was known for his exceptional marksmanship, able to shoot arrows with pinpoint accuracy even in the heat of battle. Overall, Legolas was a formidable opponent and a trusted friend admired by all who knew him for his strength, bravery, and unwavering commitment to doing what was right. In a world of uncertain danger and dark forces, Legolas stood as a shining example of the power of courage and friendship. Okay, this is not what I was looking for. Create a summary of the character of Legolas. Okay. New. Adapt the character of Legolas from the Lord of the Rings to be a character in the Star Trek universe instead. Write a summary of this new character. Let's try this. Legolas, a proud and noble warrior from the planet Mirkwood, is a formidable officer in Starfleet. Born into a long line of skilled archers, Legolas honed his skill from a young age and was quickly recognized for his exceptional talent. As a member of Starfleet, he serves as the ship's tactical officer and is responsible for ensuring the safety of the crew and the success of the mission. Legolas is known for his unwavering commitment to his duties, his quick thinking in high-pressure situations, and his unparalleled marksmanship. Despite his tough exterior, he is a kind and compassionate individual who always puts the needs of others first. Legolas is also a natural diplomat and has a deep understanding of intergalactic cultures and languages. He uses his skills to bridge the gap between Starfleet and the different species they encounter on their missions, always working towards peace and cooperation. Overall, Legolas is a vital member of the Starfleet crew, using his unique skills to protect and serve the universe. So this is what I'm talking about. Legolas is an extremely well-established and developed character. But his character is not limited to how that character interacts in the books and the world of The Lord of the Rings. Legolas can absolutely be adapted to any other existing universe out there to be a totally different character. Right, he's no longer necessarily an elf. He now hails from the planet of Mirkwood. In the Star Trek universe, there are no elves, as far as I know. At least not as we know them in the fantasy sense. So we've taken a character that is strictly a fantasy character and developed them very, very quickly into this other sci-fi universe. And this is where the power for dynamic storytelling really starts to shine, is as a creative individual, you can use the systems that we were talking about last time, where we get the AI to ask us questions about who our character is and what they would do in certain situations, have the AI write a summary of the character we've developed, and then publish that summary, publish that idea of this character that we've had in our minds for other people to use in myriad ways to experience stories with our character for themselves. Whether they play that character in a tabletop RPG, whether they have the ChatGPT write a story involving your character, whether they develop your character further and then use it for something else. It doesn't matter. There is no longer any reason to have static stories. We don't all need to read the classics to get the same experience. We now need to experience certain characters. We now need to experience certain events from whatever perspective or as many perspectives as we want. Right? We could experience the Fellowship of the Ring if instead of Legolas and Gimli and Frodo, we had Harry Potter and Captain Picard and I don't remember the name of the character from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Not the main character, but the hitchhiker who took him along for his adventure, who also maybe was the main character. They were kind of co-main characters. But the guy from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, those three people could be the Fellowship of the Ring, and we could have a totally new story with their personality characteristics, their physical attributes, all of that, and we could see how that event would have unfolded had those characters been these totally different characters. Or you could create your own characters to go along the path of the Fellowship and see how their personality traits maybe would have changed the story. You can take characters from other people and put them in those situations, or you can take the Fellowship and put them in situations that other people have created to see how they may have experienced these other situations. It is no longer reasonable to experience a story only as what it is. It takes too long, and it doesn't suit every individual. Right? We're now handcrafting our experiences for ourselves because you only get to read so many stories in your life. You only get to experience so many characters, and there's no reason to have to settle. You know that if it isn't straight out of the novels, word for word, then people freak out. They can't stand change. Yeah, I don't care if people can't stand change. Change is coming. You can either turn and walk with the change, or you can get run over by it. That's what's going to happen. And I don't necessarily think that this is an accurate assessment either, because fan fiction is huge. People love writing and reading fan fiction. And the reason we like doing that is we get really attached to the characters in the stories. I always just hate reading the last 20 pages of my books because I know that that's going to be the end of the book. And especially if it's the last book in the series, I can't put it down because I want to know how the story ends. But I start to read really, really slow, and I start to take breaks and think back about the things that had led up to the point that we were in, because I'm desperate to not get to the end. And that's because I've developed this emotional connection to the characters. Well, you can now develop those emotional connections and take those characters with you anywhere to experience anything. You can talk to those characters. You can put those characters in any situation. You can do whatever you want with them. And that's what I'm talking about when I say dynamic storytelling. There is no longer any reason to let the story end. There's no longer any reason to confine the story to the pages. The story is now anything you can imagine it is, and anything that ChatGPT can help you imagine it is. And so static storytelling is 100% dead. Right? There's no reason to publish a novel anymore. I actually really, really loved. You're talking about the new TV show, right? I hated the original trilogy movies. I thought they were absolutely awful. And I never even managed to make it all the way through um, the books. I read a lot, and I couldn't get through Tolkien. But I actually really enjoyed the TV show. It was really, really interesting to me. Um, and I don't think that I'm in the minority there. I think I'm in the majority. I think we just often have a very vocal minority because it's easy to be extremely vocal negatively. And it's sort of how we've conditioned ourselves as a society. If we don't like something, then we lash out at it. But if we do like something, we don't give the same level or intensity of positive feedback. And so negative takes on topics usually get the most interaction. And I think it shows. I mean, if you get on YouTube, people are always just pooping all over everything. I hate the original movies and only saw them recently. The TV show was okay, but the reaction was crazy. It was, but again, I think it was just an extremely vocal minority. And I think that's just the way it is. I think negative emotions drive people to action more than positive ones. Right? If we're happy, if we're content, then that's a placating emotion, right? It calms us, it soothes us, it makes us not necessarily want to go do something. Maybe if it comes up, if somebody mentions the TV show or something, we might recommend it, but it doesn't often drive us to seek people to recommend the TV show to. If we hate something, it drives us to seek people to recommend that they don't watch it. And so you get a lot of negative reactions and you get a lot fewer positive ones because those negative emotions drive us more than the positive ones. It's the same with ChatGPT. I mean, we've gone from 1 million to 100 million users in something like a month. And all you ever see online is ChatGPT is going to kill jobs, generative AIs are terrible, ChatGPT is always lying to you, ChatGPT isn't nearly as powerful as people say it is, ChatGPT is negative this, negative this, negative this. But 100 million users in a month doesn't lie. One of the reasons I hate the film is because now those actors are the characters from. That's also very true. Um, People get pigeonholed in acting into specific characters or archetypes a lot. And if you saw the movie before you read the books, absolutely, Legolas is. I don't even remember his name. Kit Harington? Is it? No, Kit Harington is the guy from uh, Game of Thrones. Yeah, I don't even remember. But absolutely, that individual is Legolas for you when you read the books. But that's not necessarily a negative thing. Having a frame of reference for the physical attributes of a character doesn't hurt your ability to enjoy the story at all. So I'm perfectly fine with that. Now, it might be difficult for those actors to play other roles in the future, and I feel sorry for them. But it's definitely a positive thing for us as readers and consumers of those stories to have a visual reference. And that's actually one of the next things is it's not just about the story, it's about the imagery that goes with the story that can now be generated in crazy speeds and in wild detail. For example, ChatGPT absolutely has a frame of reference for who Legolas is. So write a prompt for an image generating AI to draw the character Legolas from Lord of the Rings on his first day at Hogwarts, being sorted by the sorting hat. Draw a picture of Legolas from Lord of the Rings on his first day at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, showing him being sorted by the sorting hat. The scene should depict a youthful and excited Legolas dressed in Hogwarts robes, standing before the sorting hat as it makes a decision on which Hogwarts house he will be assigned to. Backdrop should be the Great Hall at Hogwarts, with the other first-year students and the Hogwarts staff watching the sorting ceremony. Make sure to capture the magical atmosphere of the Hogwarts castle and the wonder and anticipation in Legolas's expression as he awaits the sorting. Now, this will have varying degrees of success depending on how knowledgeable the AI that is generating the image is on popular culture. So, we're going to pop open an image generating AI here. We are going to punch in our prompt. Oh, actually, let's get rid of, well, we've already started it. Now we're waiting in line. That's going to take a little while. But my point is that we can now have tons of imagery for our characters as well in these new environments. And so if I have to, I will change this prompt to say, assuming that the generating AI doesn't have any knowledge of who Legolas is or what the sorting hat is. This is also a useful prompt, especially for you. Fix this syntax. It's absolutely true. My mother would be appalled. My mother is appalled at my ability to write. She has a degree in English literature and has been an English teacher at the high school level, was actually an English teacher at the high school I went to high school at while I was in high school. And I just never learned to write properly. I was never interested in writing. My interest in language has always been verbal and vocabulary. I'm I'm very interested in how different words change the meaning of what you're saying, but I just don't care to write it properly. I pretty much write the way I speak, and that's just wrong, apparently. So, whatever. I don't care. The AI knows what I'm talking about. That's why I love it. All of my English teachers hated me in high school. So I'm excited to see. This is going to take a little while. Um, but I just can't express enough how this is going to change things. And we're seeing such a small. I write and use that prompt all the time. It's very helpful. Oh, absolutely. And again, I mean, if you're in school, that would probably get you in trouble, but I'm not in school, so I have no reason. I have it fix things all the time. My descriptions, for example, in my YouTube videos are absolutely written by the AI because I am entirely too dumb to write them. I give it an idea of what I'm going to do, and then I tell it to come up with some keyword phrases, and then I tell it to write me a description including those keyword phrases, and what you read below as the description is 100% created by the AI. This was my own title, but also some of my titles are created by the AI. um, but this is just scratching the surface of how a generative AI has the ability. Absolutely. It only matters to fix your syntax if you're going to be putting what you wrote out there somewhere. Because the AI doesn't care. The AI knows what you're trying to say better than you do 90% of the time. But if you're writing something and then you're going to tell somebody else, this is the prompt I used or whatever, or if you're writing a text message and you're using the AI to make you sound like you actually know English, then absolutely that's a great tool. But the AI definitely doesn't need it. Um, but we're barely scratching the surface because our ability to maintain the history of what we're writing with ChatGPT right now is so limited. Right? You're getting maybe a couple thousand words before your entire chat just kind of breaks down and you can't even have a conversation with the AI anymore. And you have to move on to a new chat based on a summary of the chat that you've already had. But in the future, that's not going to be the case. You're going to be able to give it file locations and have it go crawl certain websites and all kinds of different stuff in the future to get information that you want to be a part of the story that you're trying to tell. You're going to be able to give it real world situations. Like, what if Legolas was a firefighter during the New York fires? I believe it was New York that like most of the city burned down or something hundreds of years ago, or a couple hundred or 150 years ago. I don't remember when it happened. I'm not a history buff. But there was, or was it the Chicago fire? It was the Chicago fire. Chicago almost burned down. Um, but you could have crazy stories where people, Wreck-It Ralph could have been there and saved people in the Chicago fire. It can be real events. So you're going to be able to take current news stories and put characters into them. I saw that someone made a version that accepts PDFs. So this is, thank you. Yeah, it was Chicago. So this is something that is great, except its ability to accept PDFs isn't really increasing its memory at all. Right? It's still just using the words in that PDF as its prompt. What I'm hoping for in the future is that it'll be able to take in these files on a much more massive scale. Right? Maybe you've got 10,000 words that you've written or curated about a bunch of different characters and a bunch of different locations and all kinds of stuff like that. And you're going to get a much more long form story out of it. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. Um, let's see. Generation failed. Well, I hate you. Try again. It is possible that it has no idea what Legolas means or Hogwarts or any of that because it's not a large language model. It's an art model. So if it doesn't know what Legolas is or what the Great Hall is, then it's going to be failing. So we'll see. Absolutely. And it's it's a lot of processing power. It's potentially a lot of instances of the AI. Right now we're all sort of using the same AI, and so we're not adding anything to its training data because we would all be sort of changing the way the AI interacted with everybody else who was using it. Right? It's already trained, and now it's just interacting with us. And so to have a model that was also continually training on the data we were giving it would drastically increase the computing requirements of that model, which is why, it's trained and then published, is because you can't really continue to have it training. But the advancements in AI are going to continue to reduce the amount of compute required and to increase the power of the model. It's always going to go. That's the way we advance things. I notice that it frequently lies like a person would who doesn't know what something is. I even call it out sometimes. It absolutely lies, and that's because lots of people very confidently say the wrong thing, and they confidently say the same wrong thing. right? There are tons of things out there. For example, um, there's a YouTube Shorts guy who recently did a video about how he always thought it was illegal to turn on the lights in a moving vehicle. And I always thought that same thing, because the exact same thing is what my dad told me when I was a kid, because he didn't want me to turn the lights on when we were in the car when he was driving, because he didn't want it to distract him while he was driving. And for literally almost my entire life, I thought that you weren't allowed to turn the lights on in a moving car, which really confused me because I liked having the lights on. Right? It made me feel, I don't know, I don't like darkness. And so for most of my adult life, I was like, well, I can't turn the lights on because the car's moving. I would pull over if I needed to rummage around in like my passenger seat in the middle of the night on a road trip because I thought that it was illegal. And I was totally wrong. It's absolutely not. But there are tons of misconceptions like that, and the AI is going to have those same misconceptions because when you when those things are written about, they are most commonly written about in the wrong way. And so that's what it was trained on. But I am just extremely excited. And like I said, I want to launch this World Nexus project. Uh, I don't know how many days it's going to take because Discord has their new forum channel. I'm going to start creating a bunch of forums, and then you'll be able to post the link to your Discord server that has your bit of world building created. And then we'll be able to discuss your bit of world building within that forum. So, people will be able to give it thumbs up, talk about, what the character is. I was today years old when I found out that fingernails don't continue to grow in the grave. Uh, so, I mean, absolutely. But you'll be able to post that, and then we'll be able to discuss it. We'll be able to talk about, maybe different things we've done with the character, and all of that different stuff. So that's going to be a really, really fun project. And it's going to develop a lot of interesting stories. It is also going to help a lot with tabletop RPGs. And this is the second thing that I wanted to discuss today was dynamic storytelling is literally what tabletop RPGs are all about. And it's something that I'm really leaning into personally. I've always been interested in tabletop RPGs. I've never really played, but actually starting this Saturday, I'm going to be GMing some Lost Mines of Phandelver. But this is another very valuable aspect of the World Nexus is when we create worlds for playing tabletop RPG games, we do it sort of in this vacuum. And every GM and every player who has ever picked up a rule book for a tabletop RPG has started building all of these ideas and concepts in their head about what character they'd like to play or the world they'd like to play in. Or, no, I haven't ever played. Well, I've tried a couple of times. It didn't really work out. We never got very far. Um, but, we start creating all this world building stuff in our head, and a lot of it totally goes to waste and never gets used. And so we need to sort of do the opposite of that. We need to be recycling a lot of this world building because it's a huge part of the time commitment, but also isn't necessarily a huge part of the fun. Some people love to do world building and love to just sit and think about, characters and places and stuff like that. But when you play a tabletop RPG, the fun is interacting with the other people at the table in these environments and with these characters. And so I want to create a space where we can recycle some of that world building. So as you're playing, if you're a GM or even a player, you can go through and as you're creating the world your players are in, you can say, oh, that city's really interesting. I'm going to put that city in my game. And I'm going to see how my players interact with those characters. Oh, that city's really fun, but I don't necessarily like the tavern owner that this person created. I'm going to replace that person with this character that this other person created. And now I've got this totally new dynamic inside of this city. And now my players are going to interact with that new dynamic in a totally new way. And so we're going to be recycling a ton of these world building experiences. And thanks to ChatGPT, they're going to be completely androgynous as far as what system you need to use them in. Right? We've already seen how you can take the character Legolas and turn them into a Starfleet officer. And those are two of the furthest apart worlds that you can get. And so even if you create a character with a fantasy setting in mind, there's no reason that a person can't decide they really like the bones of that character, take them over to ChatGPT, have ChatGPT recreate that character into their sci-fi setting, and then take that character over and start playing with them. And that's an extremely easy prompt to put in. It's an extremely easy process because of the power of generative AI. And so now instead of spending so much time building this world that maybe half of it won't ever get explored, you can build the aspects of the world that are most interesting to you. If you have a really great idea, then you can build that idea, publish it out on the World Nexus, and then borrow some ideas from some other people to build your world out. One of the issues may be that people are always looking to make a buck with publishing. So that's absolutely true. And I don't necessarily think that that's a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build the World Nexus site, right? And then if you create a character that lives on another server, right? That's your server. And Discord has this thing now where when you create group servers, not personal servers, then you can charge to be able to access aspects of that server. So if you really wanted to create a character and then charge people to access the server where that character resides, to be able to access and use it, then put the link on the World Nexus Discord and charge for it. Nobody's going to use your character because we're going to be able to generate a bajillion characters. But if that's the route you want to go, more power to you. I can't stop you. I wouldn't try to stop. I don't care. But just know that nobody's going to use your character because nobody's going to pay you when there's 100 free characters there, or they can come to ChatGPT to generate the character. This is something that is going to have to change in the world, is stuff like copyright law and patenting and stuff like that is just going to kind of have to go away, because generative AIs are going to allow us to iterate on things so quickly that they're extremely outdated concepts for a world where you needed to be able to monetize every single idea you ever had, because there just wasn't enough in the world. But as quickly as technology is advancing and as quickly as our ability to provide for all of the people in the world increases, then your need to monetize those ideas and concepts is going to go away. And your ability to monetize those concepts is going to go away. I mean, we're seeing it right now. People are rushing to write books and stuff using ChatGPT and publish them, but very quickly people are going to start to realize, well, why would I go and pay for that book that person wrote with ChatGPT when I can just go make ChatGPT write that book? Wonder what will happen to all those fantasy writers when people can have AI make a story that is completely tailored to their tastes. We still need those fantasy writers. We need people to create dynamic and interesting characters. It's absolutely true that ChatGPT can do it, but ChatGPT can only do it when you're prompting it. And so you have to get it to recreate characters over and over and over and over again until you get the character that you're interested in. But those writers are still extremely creative when it comes to creating characters that are dynamic, in that they have flaws, and in that they have overcome things in their past to create who they are. Right? They're very well versed in what it takes to make a well-rounded human being. ChatGPT is very average. Writers are extremely above average. And so they will create the people and the places and the events And we will combine those people, places, and events to create personally tailored stories. It's also true, you're absolutely right, that you might just get on to ChatGPT and have it create characters for you and create events for you and do all of those things and then create a story with that stuff. But I think it'll even be quicker to go and take the people, places, and things of creators and then mash them together into the story that you want to read. Because it does take time to get ChatGPT to create all of that extraneous side stuff. And that is where writers and world builders are going to live now. There's no reason to tell the story of what the character did. You just need to make the character so that the person who wants the story can say, oh, that character, I want that character in the story. And then they just bring that character over and then have it do whatever it is they want to do. Now they don't have to create the character. They just put the character in there and say, I want a story about this character doing this. Bam, story comes out. And now they get to read. Or I want this character in this place that I've also taken from this creator, and now I want this story about this event, or whatever. Right? You're going to be having a story from a perspective including the subjects that you want, and those subjects are going to be being created by writers, world builders, other creatives. And it's going to be an extremely collaborative experience, right? You're going to be taking a character that one creator wrote. You're going to be taking a place that another creator wrote. You're going to be mashing all of this stuff together in these interesting ways. And, maybe you get an outline for a TTRPG, right? You take an antagonist character who's going to be your big bad evil guy. You get a couple of locations that maybe count as cities or kingdoms, and then, the big bad evil guy's lair, and then you put it all into ChatGPT and say, write me an outline for a campaign. And now you've got these bones. Absolutely. And that's why I think that copywriting and patenting is going to change so much. PKPYP wrote, if you think about it, the human writers were the organic AI who mashed old characters together in their minds. But this isn't just true of writers. This is true of everybody. This is how we learn, right? We didn't break the mold when we made ChatGPT, right? We taught it in exactly the same way we learn because it's the only form of learning that we understand. So artists have always learned by replicating old masters, learning the styles of those old masters, and then combining those styles with their own preconceptions about art and design and creating their own style that mimics that. Writers have done the same thing. Inventors have done the same thing. They've taken, they took the wheel and the sledded cart and put them together to make a wheeled cart. They took the steam engine and turned it into the combustion engine. They took electricity and storage concepts and turned it into batteries. Everything is built on the building blocks of people who created things before us. And it's always going to be that way because you can't start at the end. You have to start at the start. This is just how it works. And AI is helping us do that faster, more efficiently, more dynamically, in a million better ways. And it's only going to get better. Right now, storytelling is sort of the best thing you can do. Wow, this is really going to take a while. Right now, storytelling is kind of the best thing you can do with these AIs, at least ChatGPT-like or large language model AIs, because they're fairly limited in their knowledge. They're fairly limited in their creativity. They're very average. That's going to not be the case forever, but right now, this is absolutely the best thing you can do with it. In the future, it's going to be helping people who are experts in their field step up to the next level and move from, everybody's got a gap in their knowledge. Even the most accomplished theoretical physicist is missing that one little bit of information that would help them put something together and develop the next theory. And eventually AIs will be so knowledgeable and so factually accurate that even that individual who is the pinnacle of theoretical physics is going to be able to get that piece of knowledge that they're missing from that AI, and it's going to help them develop that theory. And that's when things are going to get really exciting. Right now, it's great for high school students who want to get ahead in a certain topic, or um, who are maybe not understanding what their teacher's trying to teach them, and they need it represented in a different way. If you're in high school, ChatGPT is absolutely your greatest ally as far as learning. And if you're an adult who does not have a high school level education, or who is extremely lacking in a specific subject up to a high school level, then ChatGPT can be your tutor to get you to a high school tier competency in basically any subject. Even mathematics, which it's a little bit bad at computations, like you should get a calculator and actually do the computations on the calculator, but it will absolutely help you understanding the theory behind the mathematics up to that level. So, I mean, already we're raising the baseline. There's no reason for anybody to have less than a high school equivalent knowledge, because you can just get ChatGPT to teach you. And later that's going to change, right? We're going to push that factuality of our AI models further and further and further, and a rising tide raises all ships, right? The baseline's going to go up and the peak is going to go up, and we're just going to move ourselves forward. I mean, that's how we've always done it. It's just going to happen faster now. So I'm very excited. I think generative AIs are getting a super bad uh, tongue lashing on the internet. And again, I think that's just an extremely vocal minority. But generative AIs, and just AI in general, is going to have such a drastic impact on the world that we live in. And the first step of that is storytelling. Right? We're here right now. We have this ability to change the way we tell stories. And I want to start doing that. I think that this World Nexus idea is going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if it'll be prepped to launch by next stream. I guess that'll depend. If I stream again tomorrow, then it'll be prepped to launch. It won't be prepped to launch by next stream. If I don't stream again tomorrow, then I'll stream. I guess that'll be Friday. What day is today? Yeah. So by Friday, I'd like to have the Discord server to a point where I'm comfortable launching it, and then I can continue working on it. But Friday, the link will be in the video. I'm going to make that a deadline. I'm going to try and stick to that deadline. It's a theory that I've been toying with since before I learned about ChatGPT, but now ChatGPT just makes it so much more fun to bring those characters and those other world-building tidbits together that I just don't see any reason in not launching it as soon as possible. Because it's going to make running tabletop RPG games and telling stories so much easier and so much more cooperative and so much more dynamic and fun. I think it's going to be hugely entertaining. And I'm really excited to see what other people bring to the table. Yeah, we didn't really tell a lot of stories today. Mostly we just sat and talked about the future of AI, the future of storytelling. But it was an important topic, and it was something that we've been circling around for a long time, and I hadn't really nailed it down yet. And so I like that the concept sort of came to me dynamic, or not dynamic, organically. Are you going to record your D&D sessions? Negative, I am not. Um, Ultimately, what I hope to do, I'm gonna run Lost Mines of Phandelver like 4 or 5 times with 4 or 5 different groups because I've never GM'd a story before. Not that actually went anywhere anyway. I've done a couple of sessions with some friend groups. They just always kind of fall apart. So I'm going to run Lost Minds of Phandelver because it's so structured, and allow that to sort of teach me how to GM. And then my hope is to GM for money as a job because, I still live in a capitalist world. I still have to make money. Absolutely. Today was a really fun video, at least in my opinion. I think the topic was really interesting, and I liked I liked what we discussed today. I'm really excited about what we discussed today, and I'm really excited about the future of storytelling because of generative AIs. We didn't really get into the AI art side of it. This is just not even working. It's totally stalled out now, so I'm just gonna close that. Um, but it is important to note that ChatGPT is extremely good at creating images based on your stories, or creating image prompts based on your stories and information. Right? If you create a character and you want an image to go with that character, you can absolutely just get ChatGPT to write exactly the prompt I had. Write a prompt for an image generating AI to draw my character. Friday is when I'm setting the deadline to launch the World Nexus, which is going to be the Discord server where we're going to bring world building pieces together for people to mismatch or mix match with each other. So, if you're really interested in creating characters, but you don't necessarily like creating organizations like the Red Hand or whatever in your D&D campaign or whatever tabletop you're playing, then you can create a bunch of characters and then go borrow somebody else's organization and then stick your characters in that organization. And so we're going to be recycling a lot of world building efforts because one of the biggest time sinks to, yeah, it's going to be called the World Nexus. So one of the biggest time sinks to tabletop RPGs is every person who plays a tabletop RPG has to create everything about that world. Even if you play in a setting, right? You have to create cities, you have to create people, you have to create quest lines, you have to create all of this different stuff, and it's a huge time sink. And it basically gets used one time and then never again. But there's no reason that that same quest line can't be used with different characters, and can't be started from a different city and can't be dropped into a totally different campaign. And then we talked a lot today about how the AI is really good at generating. So we adapted the character of Legolas to instead exist in the Star Trek universe. So even if you create a character for, say, a D&D campaign, if somebody was going to be playing a sci-fi campaign, could absolutely use your character by getting ChatGPT to adapt it to that different setting. And so just the fact that ChatGPT exists means that our ability to combine and alter and work with each other's world building has just gone insane. And there's just no reason to not be collaboratively doing that anymore. So I want to have a place where people can publish their characters, their cities, their whatever, and then people can borrow and share and trade and whatever. I probably won't ever record tabletop RPG sessions and put them on here, just because while I really enjoy, I've watched like Critical Role and some others, I find those particular kinds of programs extraordinarily boring, and so I don't want to do them. When it comes to storytelling here, we'll probably just do really short form stories. Um, yeah, so it will be a little bit like World Anvil, but more modular. Right now, World Anvil is kind of this place where you can find a lot of people's creations, but there's not really a great way to borrow their creations. When you use Discord, you can just copy the link to their Discord server, and then you can put that link in your notes if you're a GM. And then all you have to do if you want to access that character is click on that link, and then bam, you're in their Discord server. And you can use as much or as little of that character as you want. But you can also share that with your players and all kinds of different stuff. So we want to create as much modularity as we can. So yes, World Anvil is a great analogy for what I'm trying to do, but is a little more individual and a little less collaborative than I'm looking for. Paul Bellow has used generative AI for a while. I forget his site. Let's go see who Paul Bellow is. Lit RPG author, AI, and web developer. Interesting. Yeah, I'll look further into that. That seems really interesting. Um, I'm I'm very interested in what people are doing in the AI space when it comes to storytelling. Tabletop RPGs are obviously a huge aspect of that because it's adding so much to your ability to create things on the fly. Because it's just as fast as a person. You type something in, it starts giving you a response. And so its ability to create instantaneously um, is extremely powerful, specifically for tabletop RPGs. But that's not the only way it can create dynamic storytelling. Um, Again, I've pretty much this entire stream we've been talking about how there's no reason anymore to read a novel when you can take characters from that novel and put them into situations of your own choosing and then read that personally tailored story. There's just no reason for static storytelling anymore. Yeah, I'll definitely look into them. Awesome. Well, that's been a little over an hour. I think I've pretty much exhausted what I was trying to talk about and am now just repeating myself a lot. And that's boring. Nobody wants to listen to me repeat myself. They barely want to listen to me the first time. So I want to thank you guys, PKP and Paul, for stopping by and for talking so much. It really helps. I know that my voice becomes much more animated, and especially my hand gestures. You can't see me, but I talk with my hands a lot. My hand gestures become um, much more interesting when there's somebody to actually talk to about what I'm talking about on stream. So thank you guys for helping me with that so much. And thanks everyone for stopping by. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the stream at all, like and subscribe. Help me grow this channel. I'm really interested in pursuing this more permanently, especially as AIs develop in the future. I would like to be there giving information about how that's happening and how that affects storytelling as it happens. So thank you all very much and have a great day.